we are rapidly building tools for our members that are AI assisted to help them with decision support in their business. Things that would have taken us 3 months to build in the past, we can build in about 3 hours now. So it's pretty cool being able to kind of identify a problem or something that would be great to do and then be able to build the tool for our members to be able to use.
Welcome to the Profitable Farmer Podcast, where we share stories and tips to help you run a better farming business and create your very own freedom farm. If you're looking to work smarter and not harder in your farm business, welcome. You're in the right place.
G'day, ladies and gents. I hope this finds you incredibly well. This is an Ask the Academy episode. We've had a host of questions from our Platinum Mastermind members, our alumni members, and the broader community about artificial intelligence, AI, how to use it, how to make the most of it, how not to get left behind, and how to make sure that we're creating opportunity from bringing it into our businesses. I'm really proud and excited about the degree to which the FOA team are pioneering and innovating in this space. And I've asked Sam Johnsson, our CEO, to join us just to help us understand, demystify, and make sure that we're all keeping up and making the most of the opportunity. Sam, with Michaela and Greg in our team, are just achieving so much on behalf of our team and our members in this space. And as I say, it's really exciting. Sam, thanks for joining us. How are you?
Going really well, Hutch. What an exciting time to be in business. And g'day, everyone. Hope you're all incredibly well.
Thanks, Sam. So just to kick us off with this, electricity happened many years ago and changed the world and made life different for everyone. Different and better over time for everyone. So there have been key structural changes over time. What's your comment, Sam, on this one and how it's likely to impact people's lives and business?
Well, artificial intelligence is already having a massive impact on business and life, Hutch, I think. And I've heard Jeff Bezos talking about it quite a while ago now, but he described it as it is like electricity, which electricity, when you think about it, is this horizontal enabling infrastructure that's, affects all industries, all parts of our life. And it started as this sort of distribution network. And when we were first going to plug into it, everyone was worried about it killing people and, how you do that. And over time, they've built standardized power ports, and we've got all this technology that connects into this electricity network that makes our life better and easier and supports us to live and do everything that we do. And he was describing AI is exactly the same as that. It's this horizontal enabling infrastructure. The only difference is that it's arrived in the space of a few months instead of in the space of 20 or 30 years. And so what's happening now is we're starting to see all of these devices start being able to utilize the large language models and the AI horizontal enabling infrastructure, which is like the grid, if you like. And we're starting to see these really tangible and useful outcomes for business and life.
Sam, what's your comment to our farmer listeners who are yet to lean into it and are still questioning the security, the longevity and the impact of it?
Yeah, I think rightfully to be questioning security and those sorts of things. And I think with any of this sort of stuff, you want to be understanding what the implications are. I think there is a heightened security risk for everyone anyway, in terms of AI's ability now to impersonate someone else and, emails that you're getting in your inbox and some of those sorts of things. We do need to be practical and aware about that, but you can, through the various platforms, if you're utilizing some of the main ones in a paid subscription, have a very good level of security and quite a lot of confidence in the data that is interfacing with it. But I would say that everyone does need to understand that risk for them. In terms of, what about if you're not getting involved with it at the moment, Hutch? I think you and I were chatting before about watching, a 60 plus year old with an iPhone. They've never grown up with this technology. Sometimes they seem a little bit baffled by the technology. I am concerned with the rate at which AI is moving, that if you're not getting involved with it, you're not starting to play with it and see how it might be something you can utilize in your life and in your business, that there'll be people that are in their late 40s or early 50s perhaps that are getting left behind with technology. So I think it's something we just have to be a part of, and it will be a big part of business moving forward.
Just laughing here, Sam. I rang my 86-year-old father today, and to answer the phone, he put his earphones, he was at the gym, put his earphones in his pocket and held his phone to his ear to try and talk to me, and all I could hear was some background music and the muffled noise of the microphone in his pocket. So it took him a while to work it out. My dad's always been very tech savvy, but you're quite right. If we don't embrace this, we could be 30 years old and be left behind. And just to speak to that, Sam, how have you seen this evolve over the last 3 or 4 years? And what is its backstory? We talked also about how there are uni students and school leavers coming out and they've already been exposed to it for 3 or 4 years, and they're the people that are going to leave us behind if we don't embrace it. But how have we seen it evolve quickly in recent years?
Yeah, I'm by no means an expert on this. We have been immersing ourselves in it fairly heavily and how it applies to our business and to farm owners. But I just want to be clear that I'm by no means an expert on AI, but we're very, very committed to figuring out how to use it as a tool in our business and to support our members to use it as a tool. So, in various forms, artificial intelligence has been around probably for 10 or 15 years. It used to be called machine learning. It was available, quite extensively through the previous roles that I was in the engineering space. It was coming into a lot of the computation that was happening in those areas. But more recently, in the last 4 years or so, we've seen the development of sort of broad scale large language models, which is the engine that basically drives the artificial intelligence. And there's a number of these. So ChatGPT is an example of a large language model, Claude, those sorts of types. And, we were pretty excited when ChatGPT first came out and you could type in there and it would semi-coherently give you a response back. Well, that's just exploded in terms of its capability over the last 3 years. And late last year, Claude made some pretty significant steps towards building what we call agentic AI. And now you can get AI to actually complete whole tasks for you, to build software for you, beyond just, using it like Google where you type a question and you get an answer, or it can craft a nice email for you. It can actually complete whole parts of a project for you or be part of the system you use to run your business.
Can you give us a metaphor of what's it like to have in and around your business and team, perhaps, just so that we get a sense?
Yeah, mental model for people to think. How would you think about AI? I would think about it like you've hired 1,000 interns into your business and you can turn them at any topic that you want. So they can great at going out and doing research. They're bringing it all back together and they can give you a really great answer. But one of the things, if you've got 1,000 interns, they can be very confidently wrong as well as, getting a lot done. So you still need to be clear on that, you're responsible for the output that comes out of the AI if you're using it for your business. And you need to be aware that it does need a layer of checking and overview in there. Perhaps another mental model you could use, Hutch, would be thinking about, where Claude's got to now. It's like a foreman or a site foreman. You've got a goal. You want to create something. Say you want to build a house. Okay, you give it the goal. The foreman goes and breaks down. The architect, can go and break down all of the parts, and that's Claude. You recruit these agents and make these agents itself. So they're like the tradespeople that are trained on different things. They go out and do the different parts of the building, and then it comes back to the foreman. He pieces it back together, and it gives you the output. So it's pretty cool how it can do all of that for you by you just being clear on what the goal is and what context it is that you want it to understand. So really clever.
And Sam, in that example and in your experience, how good's the end result?
It's great when you know what you're looking for, Hutch, and what good looks like. You can get a lot done. It does take a bit of massaging at times, but once you get it trained well, I'd say the output's really good. But I think if you're operating in spaces you don't have a great deal of experience in, you can get some fairly confidently bad answers pretty quickly. That if you're relying on them for some big decisions, could cost you quite a lot.
Yep. Good comments. And so, Sam, for a novice, what's some personal things that we could use as examples that people could have a go at getting used to it and using it just by way of, putting their toe in the water?
Like a good example for a farm business would be you want to renegotiate a commission with a livestock agent, or you want to test your interest rate with your bank or something like that. You could ask it to help you craft a compelling email or negotiation with them. It's really good for those sorts of things. And I think even helping you if you've got some grant applications to write, for example, I wouldn't just let it go carte blanche, but using it to support you to write the grant application and fill out the form, make sure that you get everything entered correctly and as it should, is a great example. So there's pretty basic ways to do that, and it's quite simple to use once you get going. You've got to get in and get started would be what I'd say.
Outside of our businesses, a couple of examples. If you wanted to achieve a weight loss goal, you could just ask it to help you design a food and exercise program based on your interests and your food preferences, and just get a sense of the research that it does for you and the concise summary it brings back. But that's just an example of how you might put your toe in the water. Sam, jumping ahead, how are you seeing some of our more progressive members call on this for research, for analysis, and for business improvement?
Yeah, perhaps it'd be useful, Hutch, to just define some levels of AI use, because what can often happen when we start to kind of talk about what people are doing is you feel quite inadequate in where you're actually at, and that doesn't really matter. I think what matters is that you're progressing from wherever you are forward, and I think in AI land, 2 weeks can feel like 2 years. You can make a lot of progress and really upskill yourself quite quickly. So if we were to think about a ladder, and there's different rungs on the ladder, the first ladder is that you're using AI like Google. So you're just typing into the AI or asking it a question with your voice, and it's giving you back an answer, which is a lot like how we'd use Google, or when you go onto Google, you get the AI search response that comes back from that. That would be, a Googler, right? The next level is that you're using it like a smart colleague. So you're having conversations about things you're trying to do in your business, or in your case, Hatch, you wanted to design the weight loss program. It's, acting like a colleague to you. You can come up with that plan or that program. It's a smart conversationalist that you can use to jam on ideas and solve things. So that we call level 1. Okay, Google is level 0. Level 1. Level 2 is that you're starting to use it to complete tasks for you. So you're getting it to produce output and you're still in control. And then finally, we talk about being the architect and an AI native operator. So you're thinking about building systems that are enabled by AI. So if we were to start at that top level, and there's only a very small handful of people that are operating at that level in our community at the moment, Hutch, but they're using it to build software to link things together, building dashboards for their farm business. They're pulling data out of different places and getting it to put it together for them so they can make better decisions in their business. They're using it to support them to link a whole heap of information together that before was taking a lot of effort in spreadsheets and those sorts of things for them to get. And in fact, it was probably just too much effort to even do anything with. And they're now being able to use that data to make real-time decisions, in-crop decisions, for example, around fertilizer with high prices this year. What are they doing around fuel, some of those sorts of things. So it's been pretty cool to watch.
And I think just to extend on that, they might have AgriWeb or mobile and a heap of data in that around their livestock enterprise. They might have a similar cropping program tracking their cropping data. They might have Figured helping them with budgeting, or Zero or Myo helping them with their cash book. They might have a whole lot of spreadsheets and a whole lot of other resources. Seeing them use AI to integrate all of those for more intelligent decision making and more meaningful data analysis is pretty compelling, isn't it?
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And the impressive thing about it is you ask them, how did you go about creating this? Well, I didn't write one line of code. We talked with it about what I wanted, and I went back and forwards. I was clear on what I wanted and what good looked like, and it helped me build the code to do this, number one. And number two, you say, how long did it take? And I go, about a week. And you just go, wow, like it's miles, that would have taken 6 or 7 months worth of development with an experienced coder and a whole heap of money in the past. So, I think you're limited by your imagination if you want to go up to that level. But in terms of, just general and more practical examples of what are people doing in the day-to-day, there's so many hours being saved, responding to difficult queries and emails, to helping them systemize their business and to put together systems. People are using it to troubleshoot maintenance issues on a piece of machinery that they're working through, or a breakdown thing, or to help them to think about strategically about, what level of maintenance should we be performing on here? What are the risks if we were to go on a more of a break fix opportunity rather than doing preventive maintenance, some of those sorts of things.
Sam, how do people progress from level 0 to level 1 and then through to level 2? I agree with your comment that not many people are at level 3. Can you just give people a bit of a roadmap for how they might progress?
Yeah, so from level 0, really, all that I would suggest you do is find something you're interested in. If you've got a topic that you'd like to research that you'd normally jump onto Google and do, download Claude or ChatGPT, get yourself set up with a free account and do the research in there. You basically type into a chat window, or even better for Farmers Hutch, you can talk into it. You don't need to type anymore, you can talk, and it does a great job of capturing that. And you can just talk and do the research in there. So that'll get you familiar with something that you're interested in. And it's amazing where you can kind of go in that Google space and how quickly you can pull together information. To move then to having a smart colleague, really the only shift is that you're starting to kind of go deeper on it. You're asking more questions. And I think this is a key skill we've all got to learn to be good at as we're working through AI. We talk about this with our members, Hutch, anyway, in terms of being a good business owner, is you need to be great at asking questions, and you really need to be challenging, what comes back. And is this the right way to do that? What about this? Have you thought about that? What have we missed in this thing that we're working on here? What's an alternative view on this that we haven't considered? And you can use AI to really challenge your thinking and your ideas around something. So that's sort of level 1, where we're starting to use it like a smart colleague. To then go into building, using AI to start building completed work for us, okay, where we're out of the workflow, we need to move into, for Claude's example, into co-work, which is where we can actually get it to start doing projects for us and completed artifacts that we can use. So that's the process, Hutch.
So, Sam, if I've designed a process and I want for Claude and co-work to help me create an agent that can either do all or part of that process, how do I sort of achieve that? And can you give us an example, perhaps?
Sure. So the way to build it is I'd start in chat, and you go back and forwards with what it is that you're trying to create. That's the first piece, and you get clear on the output and you get your version of the right system together, and you can work on AI and what that system should be. And we really need to design what should a human do and what should AI do, and be clear on what those handover points and the interfaces are. The second thing we need to be really clear on where the data and information is going to live, and how we know that the AI can access the data and information that you need, because it's only as good as the data you feed it. And if the data is rubbish, then the results that come out of that are going to be pretty rubbish as well. So where is it that we're going to point the AI to be able to utilize the right data? And are we confident that that data is correct? And then we can work on, okay, well, do we need to build what we call a skill, which is like a standard operating procedure that the AI uses to complete a task. So we can train it on the skill. And the cool thing about AI is if you don't know how to do something, you just ask it how to build a skill and it will tell you how to build a skill, or it will build the skill for you. And then we go about testing, is it giving us a repeatable outcome or not? So that's a simple workflow to work through that. A good example of what you could use that for would be that so let's take an example from a farm business. Let's say that you want to get a report every week of the current market price for grain at these certain ports. You could set up a scheduled task and Claude could go out and it could access the information from the various websites that are relevant for that, and it could give you the report.
It's a great example, and setting it up to do that is a skill.
Yes, you can teach it as a skill. Yep, yeah, you can create a skill to do that. Yep, a skill is just, think about a skill like a standard operating procedure. It's a way of doing something. So you can be clear on what you want the output to look like and how you want it to be delivered to you.
Great. Thanks, Sam. So FOA, we're calling on it a lot internally, from recording meetings and helping us with meeting summaries to helping us check our thinking around events and how we're scoping future education sessions that we're running, getting the best research that exists out there for us and for our members. But do you mind just giving our members some example of how we're using it both to drive efficiency in our business, but also perhaps integrate some of our systems?
Yeah, I think that it's easy to do things, or it's easy, everything you do in AI has a cost. So there's these things called tokens, which are just a way that AI tracks computing power effectively, and you pay for that. So everything you do has a cost. I think the number one overlay for business owners, once you've played with it enough to kind of get familiar and see the opportunity, is to think about, am I actually doing things that are going to result in a business improvement outcome? Okay, like we don't want to just add more cost into the business for the sake of it, but not get any benefit. So I think the obvious time savers at the moment for people are in things that, or the obvious things to point AI at the moment are things where you're moving lots of information, or you're trying to like scan through a whole heap of emails and, we figure out what is relevant for me to be looking at. Most people's inboxes are getting pretty jammed up with stuff. You're trying to, get a report that you'd regularly go and look at multiple websites for, and all you want is the answer. You don't need to go and do all the clicks and work through all of those things. So I think the way we're thinking about it is look for the time-saving things that you're doing in a repetitive fashion first. So yeah, for farmers, there's plenty of those that you'd be doing on a regular basis, where you're having to either enter data manually, or you're going and moving information from one platform to another. They're beautiful opportunities for AI.
How else do you see our team calling on it? Just some practical examples, because there's also some functions as a professional firm that we're calling on that might be good ideas for our members.
Sure. Yeah. So the other things, so where we're focused on at the moment is very much what is it that we've got in workflows where we've got people doing things that they'd be better off facing our members and working one face-to-face with our members, but they're stuck doing administration because there's stuff we need to do to be able to communicate within the business and within the team. And we're building out workflows where, rather than having to have a person go and download a Zoom recording, for example, transcribe it, save it into a folder, and then create a summary, AI can do a lot of that for you. And so taking meeting notes, for example, that way is helpful. Preparing for the next conversation that you might be having, it's fantastic for that. We can get across a lot of information and be ready to have a really in-depth conversation really quickly, all the way through to how do we better support our coaching team to be able to face our members so that they're not having to do a whole heap of administration that sits around that. So that's the main focus for us at the moment.
Sam, from an analytics standpoint, Greg and our analytics team are pioneering, and a lot of our members are using it to aid their due diligence and analysis of key growth decisions or expansion decisions. Would you mind just speaking to how we can call on it well and appropriately to do some of the background work on research and analysis?
Yeah, it's interesting. I do feel like spreadsheets are getting less relevant. So there's the ability to use AI to do a lot of the things that we were trying to do in spreadsheets is pretty incredible. So, we are rapidly building tools for our members that are AI assisted to help them with decision support in their business. Things that would have taken us 3 months to build in the past, we can build in about 3 hours now. So it's pretty cool being able to kind of identify a problem or something that would be great to do and then be able to build the tool for our members to be able to use. So that is really cool. But also in terms of sometimes working through a complex business decision, some of those sorts of things, it is helpful to be able to get AI to support you to build some of the analysis spreadsheets, some of the cash flow forecasts, those sorts of things. It is quite helpful to use AI to do that. Now, you do need to check those things very carefully still, because the way AI does maths is different to how you and I do maths hutch. And so it does make mistakes from time to time. But in terms of actually crafting, the forecast and getting the spreadsheets together or the analysis together, it's much quicker than you sitting down and trying to plug away and do it yourself.
Sam, you mentioned confidently wrong before. How do you test it or have it challenge itself? And how important is it that we're not calling on it necessarily to make decisions for us, but more to support us to make more informed decisions?
I just treat it the same way you treat any team member. There's probably two models to think about with this hutch. I think there's one where you've got a less capable team member working under you. Like, what level of checking would you put into the work that they do for you? So if they're doing research for you or something like that, you're going to ask them, what's the source of this? How do I know this is credible? What else haven't we considered? That all those questions you can ask the AI to give you those answers, and it doesn't get offended when you ask those questions. It just answers the next question, which is great, and it will tell you when it's wrong or no, I didn't consider that. And so the better you can be at that, questioning loop, the better you are. And I think the other way to think about this is it is like hiring a team member into your business. So you're hiring AI. When you hire someone into your business who's more capable than you in a particular area, you don't know the answer necessarily, but you understand risk and you understand cash and those sorts of things. So you can be asking the right kinds of questions to explore whether it is or isn't right in that. Now, I think you still have to be really careful if you're trying to make big decisions or do these sorts of things and you haven't got some outside opinion. But I think it can get you a long way down the track. For example, if you were trying to work through something and then you were going to go and meet with your lawyer or your accountant, you can be much more informed on that situation leading into that meeting and know what questions you want to ask them beyond what you would have been in the past through the support of AI. So what I feel like is that you can actually utilize the opportunity that sits in there to really get yourself upskilled more without taking the responsibility off of those trained professionals, because I still feel like you very much need them, because you don't know what you don't know, and AI will tell you that it's right sometimes when it's wrong. So you still must be using those trained professionals, but it can help you to be much more rounded in the conversations you have with them and accelerate that consultation process.
Sam, in terms of analysis and helping with due diligence or assessment, we need to inform AI so that it can be accurate. That might require us uploading recent financials. It might have us upload a draft budget or something that has assumptions to help set it up to, be accurate in its analysis. What's your comment from a safety standpoint of uploading some of those support resources?
If I was on a paid version of Claude, for example, Pro and above, I would be okay sharing those things. I would go in, if you're in the Pro subscription, and turn off the sharing of that information back with the organisation, but their data security is quite good. And I think for most farm businesses, you got to ask yourself, what is someone going to do with that anyway? If they have it, it's probably not a huge risk, but it is something to be aware of. I wouldn't share that stuff on a free account, because the free accounts are used to actively train the LLM, and that information is going back outside of your control to other locations. So definitely, if you're on a paid version, and what you've talked about there, Hutch, is that this kind of key shift from level 1 to level 2 happens not through better prompting. It's about better context and better access for the AI. So context, we mean it understands more about your business and about the thing that you're trying to get it to do. So to do that, often we're needing to feed it details about where's our farm located, what are our goals as a family and as a business, what are the types of enterprises we run, how are they performing from a profitability perspective, all of those sorts of things that we might want to feed it that are potentially sensitive information. So that's the context piece. And the access is that we might want to give it access to different software that we have, and there's a couple of different ways that you can do that, but we just need to be aware that when we're giving it access, that it is then able to potentially read and write files on our behalf. And so we want to understand where it is doing that and making sure that it doesn't have the ability to go and delete all your files, for example, on your computer by accident, which has happened to people.
And Sam, just to pick up on a really important point you made, I think our advisors and our mentors and the people around us become more important. AI certainly doesn't replace them, but it sets you up to be informed in your narrative with them, and it sets you all up to make more informed and perhaps better assessed decisions. The other comment you made, Sam, was you don't need to type in now. You can talk to it. Quite a few farmers don't like being in the office, and the construct of not having to sit there and type out requests, and an extension of that could well be capturing the years of wisdom and experience that a farmer has and getting that out of their heads and onto paper, so that intelligence can be passed from one generation to the next, perhaps cleverly. Can you speak to Whisper and a few other technologies that might help someone walk around and download their years of experience?
Yeah, it's a really, I think this is really helpful for farmers who often typing's not something you want to do. Sitting in the office is not something you want to do. And, if you're like me, you type with 2 fingers and it takes a long period of time. So most of the AI systems have an ability to voice record, but it only allows a certain number of characters or amount of time before it kind of drops out. And it's really frustrating when you're mid-thought and it cuts out on you. So there is an AI voice keyboard that's been developed called Whisper Flow, and it is absolutely incredible. You can talk into it and you can use it in any application on your computer. It's not just within the AI. If you want to type a Word document with Whisper Flow, you can just talk into it and it will craft the Word document for you. So it's WISPR Flow, and it's an app you can either put on your phone or on your computer, and it's basically a voice keyboard. So voice is the new interface. For me, that's where everything will go. I think we're going to move a bit more away from some of the keyboard aspects, because voice is just how we all operate and communicate. So for farmers, if you can, I'd encourage you to get onto it, because it is a great way to interact. And at the last deep dive, we had 500 odd farmers working through using AI live in the room, which was fun and challenging all at the same time. But there were a few people that were really struggling with that. And I got a message from one of them the other day, and they were so grateful that we had opened them up to AI in the room. Since then, they have gone home and walked around and voice recorded and systemized all of their business. They had the goal of going away for a few weeks at the end of the year on a big holiday. And they've been putting off doing a lot of this work they needed to do in terms of systemizing their business. In the space of a few weeks, they've got 40 years worth of knowledge of running this incredible business out of their head and into systems, and they're now training their operations manager and team all the way down to how do you make decisions at certain times of the year when different triggers come up. How do I think about this? And it's all captured and well structured for that team member to be able to follow through that. And I just thought, what a wonderful example of, someone who's old in the older generation and perhaps didn't need to go and do this, has been able through this voice interface to be able to walk around their farm and just get out of their head 40 years worth of knowledge and into the hands of the next generation and their team.
Amazing. Sam, looking forward, and I think even the best experts on this aren't willing to predict where it might go, but what are some things we can do to make sure that with all the change that's coming, that we can maintain and continue the journey without having to, start again at any point in time or change platforms or whatever? Do you mind just speaking to how to navigate? I mean, if you have predictions about the future, that's great, but how do we navigate what's coming from this perspective?
I think it's really difficult to predict where it goes. The way I've been describing this with the team is it's a little bit like the Force in Star Wars, Hutch, that you can use the Force for good and for evil, and I'll move between like really excited about where it's going and then somewhat concerned at times. But I think what we've got to realize is, once again, it's a horizontal enabling infrastructure. It will affect everything we do. But as humans, we tend to grow and develop and figure out how to utilize these things to do more. And, what I'm really excited about, there's a lot of people that had barriers to doing things that aren't limited by those barriers anymore. They're great thinkers. They're great at what they do, and they're getting freed up and have the ability to go and pursue things that they never were able to. So I do feel like there's going to be some bumpiness through the process, but that on the whole, it's going to be an incredible thing for our businesses and our lives. If we were to go down to what do we do to kind of deal with that, we're at the early stages. If you think back to the early stages of the internet, there was a few different web browsers, and then we ended up with all these different ones. I don't know which one you used to use, Hutch, but it might have been like Yahoo or something like that, if you remember. Now Google is like the dominant one, right? We're at that early stage. There's all these different LLMs coming out, these different models. You don't know which one of them is going to be the dominant one in 10 years' time. None of us know, and none of us can predict that. So really what we want to be thinking about is, how do we build the brain and the context outside of the AI platform so that we can think about the AI LLM as a service rather than the thing we use. But you can also at the moment get really caught in trying to chase the new and greatest thing and jump around between all of the platforms that are there and never really make any progress in terms of systemizing your business. So at the moment, what I'd suggest is you pick one and you get familiar using that and how you use that in your business. And if I were to pick one at the moment, I would say pick Claude, and you go about learning how to use that and do it well in your business. But you want to build this brain, these context files and these systems that sit outside of the AI, so that when you change systems, you can just take the different AI system and point it at what you've built outside of your AI model.
So Sam, how do you do that practically? Are we downloading things that come out of Claude into a different platform, or what is that? What does that?
Yeah, so we want to create really robust context files for your business. We want to think about the standard operating procedures or the skills that you're making as artifacts that live outside of the AI. And rather than relying on the memory that lives in the AI, whilst it's useful, we want to be pointing the AI at the context that lives outside of the AI intelligence. So that way, we're using the AI as a service to help us do the task and complete the process or whatever it is that we're doing. But everything that is important, the data that it's referencing, the files that are the context, the output that it's creating, all lives outside the AI in our own file storage, so that we own it and we can walk away with it to another system when we want.
Thanks, Sam. So there are industries that are going to be disrupted early by this. I mean, it does have me thinking about what my kids do after school in terms of their tertiary education or their vocational education, or where they focus in industry next. What's your comment on the impact that this can have on our industry and the opportunity it presents for farmers?
I, like you, Hutch, am regularly thinking about what does it mean for my kids. I'm probably a little bit fortunate that mine are a little bit further away from university than yours are, and we have a little bit more time to watch and see how this plays out. But it is an interesting question to ponder. In terms of the ag sector, like a lot of technology, it tends to disrupt the other sectors first, and it comes a little bit later into ag. So I think that the ag industry is uniquely positioned at the moment to really become familiar, start getting yourselves upskilled, take advantage of the time saving and the opportunities that sit around supporting you to better run your farm business. But on the other hand, we know that there is going to be some industries where it does disrupt jobs and it reduces, job opportunities, some of those industries. Now, as a farm business owner, you've got a unique value proposition to put forward here. You've probably got an industry that's going to get disrupted a little bit later in terms of labour and job security than most of the others. And so you should be able to put forward quite a compelling case for people who might want to be looking at, where do I go with my career? What is next? How do we attract those young people that are coming out of university, number one, and number two, anyone who's perhaps been, built a skill set and has been displaced from some other work and is looking for an opportunity to go work in the country in stable employment, in an industry that is an incredible place to work. So I think there's a really great opportunity for the ag sector to kind of position themselves as we navigate through this as a really strong place to come and seek employment and to, look for building a career.
It's a great comment, Sam. What else do you feel we need to know? And then we're excited that our next workshop that we're running out to the industry is going to be focused on this topic. Do you mind just speaking to that so that people have got forewarning about what to expect in that workshop?
In terms of what else you need to know, Hutch, I'd say if you're not using it, get in and start. Just get in and play. It's going to evolve quickly. They're working hard at the moment on payments into AI, and I think that's going to change, things pretty considerably once we kind of see payments being done with AI on a large and commercial scale. It's still very, very early days on that yet, but that's probably the next frontier beyond what's happening in the large language models. So yeah, that I'm really interested to see where that goes and then what that means for a whole heap of things that we do as business owners. I think that possibly has the opportunity to simplify a lot of what we're currently navigating in terms of accessing capital and those sorts of things. So that could be fairly exciting. In terms of the workshop, we just want to run a really practical workshop for farm business owners. We want to help you to really understand what does it mean to make that shift from level 1 to level 2 and use AI as a system in your business, okay? And we want to take you through some simple and practical tips and give you some systems that you can take away and implement in your business straight away to go and help you to run your farm business better, to take some of the stress out of the back-end office work that happens on a day-to-day basis, and to just give you a really good basis and grounding for how it is that you can work through AI and utilize it as a tool in your business. So that's the goal of the workshop, Hutch. It'll be a small investment and we'll be launching it soon. It'll be in October this year, and we're really excited about running that.
Thanks, Sam, and we'll include details of that upcoming workshop in the show notes. Hey, to you and Michaela and Greg, just thank you for your pioneering in how this is helping us shape our business, but how it is helping so many of our members integrate this new change and lead and learn and innovate through it. Hey, to everyone listening, the game's changed. This is an enabler. It's going to impact everyone and everything, and we need to be on the front foot. So I just encourage you to listen to this even twice and make sure that you're kind of locked in to the opportunity, that you're clear on, and that you're allocating time to moving through those levels that Sam talked about and looking to pioneer how you can integrate this technology into your business, into your team, and to support how you move forward. Sam, great to connect. Thank you. Final comment?
Thanks, Hutch. It all comes down to implementation for me, team, at the end of the day. AI has given you a great tool for knowledge in your back pocket and an ability to simplify some of the things that you do in your business, but you still need to implement at the end of the day. And that's ultimately what we're here to support you to do, is to demystify some of the noise that sits around running a business really effectively and help you take the action that you need to achieve the goals that you want. And I think that's now more relevant than ever. Hutch, the amount of noise is increasing, the amount of things that we're trying to navigate and deal with is increasing, and having the support of a community who are all figuring this out together and working on applying it is what we're intently here to continue to deliver.
Thanks, Sam. Great comment. I hope that's been helpful, everyone, in getting you up to speed and your head around artificial intelligence and how to make it work for you into the future. Thanks for listening. Take care, everyone, and bye for now.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Profitable Farmer podcast by Farm Owners Academy. If you're new to this show, be sure to follow us. If you've been a long-time listener, let your friends know about us or come continue the conversation in the Profitable Farmer Facebook group. All the best as you grow your business and create your freedom farm. Until next time, keep being incredible.